Definition of screw gauge. A screw gauge, or micrometer screw gauge, is a precision instrument used to measure very small dimensions, such as the thickness of wires, sheets, or the diameter of small objects. It works on the principle of a finely threaded screw, where the rotation of the screw is translated into linear motion for accurate measurements. Typical accuracy is up to 0.01 mm or 0.001 inches. Parts of a screw gauge. 1. Frame, the C-shaped structure that holds the anvil and spindle. Provides stability and support during measurements. 2. Anvil, a fixed cylindrical part against which the object to be measured is placed. 3. Spindle, a movable cylindrical part opposite the anvil. The spindle advances or retracts as the thimble is rotated, pressing against the object. 4. Screw, the precision-threaded screw inside the spindle, responsible for the linear movement of the spindle when rotated. 5. Sleeve/main scale, a stationary part with a linear scale marked in millimeters or inches. 6. Thimble, a rotating cylindrical component with a scale marked on its circumference. Rotating the thimble moves the spindle closer to or farther from the anvil. 7. Ratchet stop, a small knob at the end of the thimble. Ensures consistent pressure on the object to avoid over-tightening and damage. 8. Locking device, a mechanism that locks the spindle in place once the measurement is set. 9. Zero line, the line on the sleeve used to align with the thimble scale for reading measurements. Types of screw gauges. 1. Outside micrometer screw gauge, used to measure external dimensions like the thickness of sheets or wires. 2. Inside micrometer screw gauge, measures internal dimensions such as the diameter of holes or bores. 3. Depth micrometer screw gauge, used to measure the depth of holes or slots. 4. Thread micrometer screw gauge, designed for measuring the pitch and depth of screw threads. 5. Digital screw gauge, features a digital display for quick and precise measurements without manual scale reading. 10 examples of using a screw gauge. 1. Measuring the thickness of a wire, demonstrate how to place the wire between the anvil and spindle and record the measurement using the sleeve and thimble. 2. Determining the diameter of a rod, show how to align a small metallic or plastic rod in the screw gauge to measure its diameter. 3. Measuring the thickness of a thin sheet, use the screw gauge to measure the thickness of materials like aluminum foil, plastic, or paper. 4. Finding the diameter of a small ball bearing, measure the precise diameter of a spherical object like a ball bearing. 5. Calculating the thickness of a glass slide, use the screw gauge to determine the thickness of a microscope glass slide. 6. Measuring the pitch of a screw thread, use a thread micrometer screw gauge to determine the pitch or thread depth of a screw. 7. Finding the internal diameter of a small pipe, measure the internal diameter using an inside micrometer screw gauge. 8. Measuring the depth of a hole, use a depth micrometer screw gauge to calculate the depth of drilled holes. 9. Measuring small jewelry dimensions, demonstrate how to measure the thickness of a gold chain or the diameter of a ring. 10. Checking zero error, explain how to identify and correct for zero error by aligning the anvil and spindle without an object. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Power of Knowledge Vision for more amazing content.